So we're going to do some standing back work now with Ben. I'm using a boom bat here, and we're just looking at the quality of Ben's take, his footwork. Is his weight on the balls with his feet? Is his setup okay? What's his stance like? Is he getting too low? Is he too high? So we're looking at his posture, how he moves, making sure that's repetitive. I'm going to hit with the boom bat from a length. I think it's important that I hit roughly from where the ball would pitch so that the trajectory is realistic. And I'm just trying to get Ben moving slightly from side to side and slight variation on the take where it's fingers down and fingers up. Take. Two more. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to switch now. That was set up to a left-handed batter. So we're going to set up to a right-handed batter now. We did 12 balls. We're going to do 12 balls for a right-hander. Interesting mix of Ben taking it fingers up, fingers down, out here near his body. It'd be interesting to get you in actually why there was one particularly that you took. Or two, there's one you took up here, fingers up, and another one in a similar place that you took fingers down with a really big rotation. Any deliberate?
No, just feel, mate. Like, so, I think I find I like to get my head on the line of the ball as much as I can. That's just me personally. Like, I'm not one to go past the ball and take it there, if that makes sense. So, if it is coming at me, I'm quite likely just to stand still, take there. I ideally want to get there, but if I don't quite get far enough across, that's the option. It's just, if you're working at that intensity, that game of speed, there's not too much thought going into, I'm going that way, I'm going that way. It's, if I get my head in line, I'll probably go that way. If it's a bit wider, I've got that as a backup, if that makes sense. That's
very English to go fingers down the rotation as far as possible. An Aussie would often get lower and so they tend to be further back, quicker pitches.
Yeah, and if you like to get your head on the line of the ball, because I think most of the time I'm working with him, standing back, sort of need to hit in a squat.
Whereas an Aussie playing in Perth, I played in Perth,
is here.
You're working here to here.
Yeah, so exactly.
So most of your takes are up there, whereas in Leicestershire, you're down here.
When it comes, especially Grace Road, when it comes through a bit higher but at me, I feel more comfortable staying on line, going there rather than going inside. But like I said, if I'm moving that way and it's still wide of me, I'm probably going that way a lot of the time. That's not this is the right way, this is the wrong way. I set up a lot of the time for this one and like to get my head on the line of it. So if it does come here, I'm going in reverse, just as liking the way my technique is, really, and not worrying too much. I know I can catch it that way or that way. It doesn't really make two odds to me. Some people prefer one or the other, don't they? But I don't know what you would do.
Yeah, I'm similar. I tend to prefer going fingers down. Again, it's quite tall. It's a hell of a bowler to get up here. For me to have to go fingers up, so I tend to rotate and go fingers down more so than
Whereas someone like Tom Moores at Knox, who's very short,
he'll
again very athletic keeper, sets up quite low and backs himself to get right up high. Whereas your Ben Folks, more your height is up quite tall, probably takes a lot more.
Yeah. Cool. Let's hit some right-handed.
Wait a bit back there.
Two more. Good. Nice. Nice takes, isn't it?
Sweat on.
So, really good set takes there from Ben. I want to just quickly talk about something that a lot of people have seen on telly and wonder why it's done. So if you watch a lot of Australian Southern Hemisphere keepers, a lot of them take the ball like this, and it looks really cool. And I think a lot of our young keepers think, oh, that looks really cool, I'm going to do that. So, but without questioning why, understanding why. Most English keepers will take the ball here. So say that ball's there, an Aussie might try and get a double step in and take it like this, whereas an English keeper will get across and take it there. Now, that's definitely what I do. I try and take the ball here. And I think the difference in conditions, I played in Australia, I played Perth actually, and you stood miles back to everybody, even the spinners, right? You're miles back, quick, it's so quick, you're not really stood back to spinners. But you stood a long way back to everybody, and the ball doesn't swing as much, so you set up a little bit wider for the edge, because the ball that the batter player misses, you can then take there because it's not going to swing. Whereas if I did that in England, most balls swing most of the time. So if I'm stood up outside the line of the player miss, and best case scenario, take it there, and then it swings that side, I'm stuck. I can't get across very easily.
The number of times as well that even someone swinging it away, you'll know if you keep wicket to someone with a little bit of pace and you're standing back. If it does go hit the seam, go between bat and pad, it can always go further that way. And no end of times you end up setting yourself in here. The ball just goes inside the bat, but actually by the time it gets to you, it's way over there. And I feel that if you go the Australian way with that, you've not only wrong-footed yourself, but you're 2 feet further away from the ball. So it might give you an advantage on edge when it doesn't swing, but I feel here, like even then, you hit one off the bat indoors, and it just gone. That's one back towards the leg side. I feel that if I've already gone that way, that's there moving further. If I'm on line with it, it's here moving that way a little bit.
So for anyone watching that wonders why Australians do that, it does look cool. It's because the ball doesn't tend to swing as much, and they're setting up for the edge, so they can have their slip ball wider. They can be themselves wider for the edge, because the one that's playing miss, they can just come through there, and it won't swing and beat them down to fine leg. Whereas an English keeper is going to generally set up a little bit straighter and try and catch the ball under their eyes, whether it's here under their eyes or there under their eyes, because the ball swings more here. Most foreign keepers, if you watch a start of Test series, come here and struggle, have a bad first game, bad first 2 games, and then get better, because they have to readjust how wide they stand and how much they exaggerate that inside here.
Interesting point you make as well about where you set your slips and how you adjust your start position. Where would you set up to a seamer in England? What stomach line would you be standing at?
It would depend on the type of seamer, so it would depend what they did. If they're
swinging away,
a weight swing bowler, your general starting point is left foot on off stump. I never want to be too wide for the play and miss, or one that goes over the stump, then I'm stuck for that same reason. So I tend to be quite tight off stump for an away swing bowler. If it's an in swing bowler or someone that really, more immortal type that sort of pushes it into place, then I might even be middle stump. I would very rarely be outside of stump.
This is an interesting one, because
left-handed different. So here, if the bowler's just pushing it across and it's swinging that way, then maybe I would be right foot outside off stump. And we talked about this standing up earlier. It's about the bog standard ball. Where is their stop ball going to go? So if the stop ball is going to go here, my right foot's not in line with off stump. If that's off stump, but if the stop ball's going to go there, then I really should be stood there. That's left-handed batter to an in-swing bowler, which is not the most common type of bowler.
Yeah, so that's where this gets a little bit interesting, because it's something that works for you might be different for me. And so if I look back at keeping the last few years, if I dropped an edge, and I made a change to this last year, if I dropped an edge, it's because I generally started on off stump, and you, especially if it's the away swing bowler, you get drawn a little bit if they're trying to start it quite straight.
Yeah,
you get
you weight go to your left foot.
you get drawn this way, and then it's very hard to go that way. So if I've dropped one, to me this is why I feel like I've dropped balls standing back. It's because I've followed the ball that way, the edge goes that way. So my change to counteract that was to start on leg stump.
Yeah, so you're looking at the line of the ball better.
So and it's just generally a personal thing, but I will start very, very tight in, almost so that I can only just see the bowler and the ball. And then I know I'm working that way. And I've got a real good movement that way if I need it, because I'm left-handed. So I'm thinking about how can I make it easier for me just to move one way and focus on the wicket, focus on the edge. And I feel that personally, starting on leg stump to the ball, generally moving away, which seems like counterintuitive, but generally moving away, if I start on leg stump, I've only got that one direction to go with.
It also might depend on what eye dominant you are.
See, I don't know that. I know that I catch my left hand, but I'm right over left. I know that.
Yeah,
I don't know that what eye.
Yeah,
I suspect it might be that one.
Yeah, so what eye dominant you are has a bearing on how wide you should stand, which hand you catch with. So I catch right-handed and then cut it with my left. So I don't want to be too wide.
Yeah, because I'm overworking that one.
Yeah. But the biggest thing about it is your squat will come back to that power position. Like so many catches stood back and dropped because you've moved that way and then they nick it. And that's so common, and generally it's because you stood too wide. There's other
You don't have
interesting.
to be as extreme as I am. I'm going to take away all of this movement, start on leg stump, and only go that way.
Yeah, I think you're very quite extreme, but it will also depend possibly on where the bowler's bowling from. If they're quite stuck to stuck, that might be different to if they're bowling really wide to creep.
Big movers.
Yeah, but Jack Russell was a left-hander. He used to stand like this, like facing the left-hander's cover. At some points in his career, I think he then ended up. No, I might be wrong, but I think most of the times like this. But he did have a period where he got open. So there's also theories out there. Essentially, what feels works well for you, but the biggest thing has to be that your squat is powerful. So another standing back drill we're going to look at here, we're using the catch it round. Really, like that is a staple part of a wicket keeper's kit bag. I really recommend that any keeper gets one of them, takes it to training and gets someone to throw balls off it. Not a massively complex drill this. I've set up, so this is again on a length-ish, because that's a realistic alignment from the stump. So I'm asking my keeper to line up as he would to where the stumps are, see the batter's there, and that's roughly where the batter's going to nick it from. I'm hoping here just to work him side to side and give him some realistic nicks to catch. Ideally, we'd be including some diving in this. We're not going to do that today, but you could get crash mats in. If you're outside, then diving obviously lends itself really well to this.
Not so much concrete.
Not so much.
Right,
Right.
did myself there. Grab that.
Were you wrong footed?
Yeah, 100%. Nice.
Big old nick that.
I was in a better position for that one. I just that slipped.
Gone one back to first slip. Probably takes out the first two. Well done, good hands. Good hands. Good take. Good take.
Little bit.
Nice, mate. 5, 6, 12. Take. Good. One more. Good. Nice set. How do you feel about those?
Bit of breath. I always find this is quite challenging because you don't get a wicket that's quite quick but quite low. You feel like you have to be a little bit closer than you might want to be. that's what I found about that, and it's good practice because if you get a nick at this distance, it's quite a hard distance to work at that pace, and it is good practice because if you saw on the very first ball you threw, if you're ever so slightly one way or the other, it's massively highlighted. That first ball I was only hit, not an awful position, couldn't get to the ball there, so that's why I think it's good practice and the variation keeps you honest, isn't it?
Yeah, I think what you're looking for here is for Ben to really exaggerate his powerful squat, getting his hands out, his elbows and arms out in front of his knees, and not getting wrong-footed, not predicting which way he thinks the ball's going to go. If his weight's slightly on his right and it goes left, he's in trouble. So he's got to try and stay as strong, as still and as loose here as possible so that he can react. It's quite an English distance back, isn't it?
Yeah, this is your classic club distance, I think.
Yeah,
it's not nice. The best club wickets you can play on, when you get a really good one where lots of two-screw put in, stuff like that, you might find yourself here, and suddenly you're in it's a different game.
Yeah.
Because you can get away with it a bit more.
You've got time.
Yeah, exactly. If I'm slightly like this, and it goes that way, I can adjust and go. Here, especially working that height as well, there, if you're slightly this way and it goes that way, you've gone already because the distance is so small.
So what you can do to get a bit more carry is just stack the ramp slightly, and then we'll get a bit more carry there, so we can make.
This is going to be a chopped ball, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to go a bit higher.
That was quick.
Yes, that's a much higher carry.
Yeah. I'll just catch it with one hand.
So you carry a bit more comfortable there, isn't it?
It's like the difference between, isn't it? I'm able now to go an extra yard back because it's getting more bounce and a little bit slower as well.
Yeah, because it's hitting the ramp rather than skimming. I'm trying to throw it with lower arms. Watch out, guys. So classic thing that people do wrong here is they throw into the ramp.
Yeah, you get nothing here.
I'm kneeling down, I'm down on my knee, but I'm also throwing like super low. It's an overarm throw, but because my shoulders have gone down, it's from I'm trying to get it to go along the ramp rather than into the ramp.
Yeah. What you might notice as well is my set position is probably higher. It's not conscious, but it's probably a bit more relaxed in the knee bend.
Yeah, my set position is way higher stood back.
Yeah. I mean, compared to from without the cones to with the cones back here, you just.
Like swan.
Yeah, see on top.
Nice. So do two more.
Yeah. We tilt the ramp to do that.
Try. Nice. Good set, mate. Done.